We're a couple weeks away from the NHL Draft, and today we're going to be talking about some intriguing players that really we haven't gotten into yet, haven't talked about at length. Mario, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, one guy that I think post-draft combine that got a lot of attention is an interesting story is Mason West out of Minnesota. Plays in the high school system, played for the Fargo Force in the USHL. He's from the Cake Eaters, Adena High School. And he is a big, athletic, maybe even a more high-end player than AJ Spellacy, but has the same story. He's a football player.
Okay.
And he's got D1 offers to play football at Kent State, Miami of Ohio. He's got some D1 offers. He's a quarterback. He's a stud football player, but he is choosing to go the hockey route. And I think he's an interesting story. He's an interesting case. He's a big forward, 6'6", 218 pounds at the combine.
That'll do.
Huge kid down the middle. He's got some growth left in his game for sure. It's more of the, again, like AJ Spellacy, it's more along the lines of the athleticism that he brings to the table, and then those talents and those skills can kind of get molded as he goes through his development path. But he's definitely a guy that not only fits the build of, the Blackhawks want size up front, they want a center with size. He's a guy that I think is going to be there in that second round where they have two picks, one early on, one late. So I think he's a guy that is intriguing. His skill set is intriguing. His story is fun. He's someone to watch as the draft goes on. Not only for the Blackhawks, but also just in general. Like you love those stories. Like the NFL draft loves to find stories about players, and sometimes they're very morbid. This one is this one's more fun.
Yeah,
this one's more fun for Mason West.
Looking at the consolidated rankings on elite prospects, Mason West 61st overall. So what you're talking about there, second round, maybe slips to third, but usually when a guy has a good combine like Mason did, they're going to jump up a little bit towards the draft and gain some steam. My guy was brought up to us for the first time on one of our mailbag shows recently is Sioux Greyhound Brady Martin, another big physical kid, 6 foot 187, not like towering, lumbering like Mason West, but just a physical beast with a lot of skill. He is projected somewhere in the middle of the first round, so not at 3, not at 25, but if somehow the Hawks still have the 25th pick and they've maybe made a trade, maybe they know what their free agent plan is going to be at the draft, and I don't know how they would because you're not allowed to talk to people until noon on July 1st. Yeah. But maybe they got a crystal ball or something. Maybe you can use 25 and more to move up to get a guy like Brady Martin.
Could.
I just read this draft prospects, elite prospects draft guide. Unstoppable. They say he is a uniquely heavy and frequent hitter. He slams opponents into the wall and throws them to the ice before chasing down the next victim. He also had 72 points in 57 games for the Sioux Greyhound. So he's not just a goon, not just an enforcer. Those days are long over in the NHL of just finding guys that can just fight and that's it. Mm-hmm. But this, as we talk about guys in the Hawks, that the Hawks lack in their system, somebody like Brady Martin, physical, imposing. Even when you get into the Porter Martone conversation, who is a power forward, big kid, his game isn't necessarily physical. Yeah. He will play a power forward game and going to the net, deflecting pucks, those sort of things. But in terms of inflicting punishment on the opposition, that's not Porter Martone either. So finding those guys, especially in this day and age with the kind of skill that Brady Martin has, is rare. So again, if you're comfortable moving 25, if you really like Brady Martin for the Blackhawks, if you're Kyle Davidson, you've got 25 and he's on the board 15, 16, 17, maybe you move up a little bit and get him, trade a second round pick, look at moving something next year. It all depends on where things fall, but it's a guy who could be intriguing and could certainly fill a role for the Blackhawks.
He's a guy that I feel like is as we get closer and closer to the draft, keeps going up and up people's boards. So I feel like we get around this time, it's cup final time, and people see the types of players and teams that are, making a big difference or they're playing in the Cup final, and the traits of some of those guys, Brady Martin is a player that has those traits. So I feel like a lot of times there will be those late movers where it's just like, well, this guy plays playoff hockey. It's like, well, we're all watching playoff hockey, so you get enamored with it.
Philly's taking him at 6. There's no doubt about it.
It feels like if you want to move up to get him, you're definitely going to have to go higher than, 15.
Top 10 maybe?
Yeah, I really feel like Brady Martin's going to be a guy that's probably gone by the time you get to the double-digit selections. But, I mean, he's a quality guy. Like, I think there are better all-around players ahead of him that the Blackhawks should take at 3. But if there was another team at 3, I would be like, I wouldn't be surprised if they want to be the smartest guys in the room and take a player like Brady Martin and say, yeah, he's going to be our playoff performer down the road. But if you want to move up and get him, you want to make a play for it, I'm all for that. Speaking of Stanley Cup playoff style players, a guy that I think is going to be intriguing for the Blackhawks. They have a 1 third-round pick, 66th overall. I know we're not necessarily focused on the defensemen because the Hawks prospect system is full of defensemen, a lot of them that you feel like are going in the right direction. But if you want to add to it, if you want to add another redwood to the forest, Swift current Broncos defenseman Payton Kettles, 6'5", 200+ pounds. His game is described as being nasty. He is a not going to put a lot of points up on the score sheet, but he is a defensive defenseman. He's a stopper in transition, has good mobility for his size. I know at 6'5", 200 pounds, like you kind of wonder about where those guys are with their skating ability. You look at Alex Vlasic, very big guy. He's a mobile skater. Yeah. We've seen him, join in the rush before. So, Kettles is a guy that his mobility is not really an issue. There's just not a offensive upside to him. He is more of a stopper defensively, but he's big, he's physical, he's mean. He's a guy that I think would be one of those, like, if you look at like a third pairing defenseman, I think of like Brandon Carlo, like one of those guys, like a third pairing defenseman that you put out there, probably, might play on some penalty kill. He's not going to kill you defensively. He's not going to really jump in the offensive zone, but he's going to lay hits. He's going to be hard to play against. He's going to be a punisher in front of the net. Like, he's a guy that I think would be a lot of fun in the system.
All right, could Brady Martin, Mason West, or Payton Kettles be a Blackhawk? We'll find out in just under 2 weeks.